Hello, everyone. Welcome to our second episode of our studio webinars. And today we will be discussing ROAS. And before starting, let me introduce myself. My name is Uruj, and I am working as CRO expert for past couple of years. And today I will be co-hosting this session. And I have with me Max Raza, and he's in marketing for almost a decade, and he has vast experience on different platforms of e-commerce. And speaking of PPC, he has expertise in Google AdWords, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, and so on. So today we will be learning how we can maximize our return on ad spend, and we will go through all the learnings that we have learned over the years, and that we have um, done the experimentation. And we will also go through the insights and how we can implement them in our e-commerce business, and how it can help you. All right. So we will also have question answer session in the end. So you may write down the questions if you have any. And thank you so much for being for taking out time and joining the session. So let's begin. As you know, we will be learning how we can maximize your ad return on ad spend. Here are the few things that we will be discussing. The first one is what is ROAS. So we will be seeing that how it works and what does it actually mean when you are advertising on different platforms. All right. So ROAS is basically campaign revenue that you have got from advertising divided by cost of the campaign that actually you have spent. And you will be seeing that how much actual return on the ad spend you have got. All right. So next we will also see the executional drivers of return on the ad spend, and there are a few things that actually impacting them. So the first one, that is the total reach, how much people you have shown the ad, and then the part of day in which you have shown your ad, and next the position placement of your ad, where you have placed it, whether it was shown in feed or somewhere else. And then distribution channel, that which channel you have used, whether it's Facebook, it's Instagram, TikTok, or Snapchat. And then the duration of campaign, for how long you have run that campaign, and definitely the frequency, because frequency is very important when you are setting the ad and you are viewing its performance. You will get to know how many times it is shown to the people, and how it is actually getting you the results. And then port placement and also ad clutter, and here you can see in red one very important thing, that is ad quality. Ad quality, speaking of ad quality, we are talking about creatives here. So it matters a lot what kind of creatives you are using, what kind of product you are showing them, and how much engaging it is. So over to you, Hassan. um,
Thank you, Ruj. Thank you for hosting this webinar. I'm really excited to share insights and for quickly walking through the key drivers of ROAS. So let's jump right into the topic and explore further about it. As you was mentioning, all these variables matter, And all these KPIs were identified by Nielsen in one of their research articles, how these play a part. And we would be dissecting some of these in detail in upcoming slides. So let's talk about, first of all, the duration of the campaign. If you are trying to maximize your ROI, for how long you should be running, a campaign. Should it be run for 1 week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, or for a longer duration? Per the Nielsen report, 8 weeks is the optimal time. 4 to 6 weeks, you are just picking up on the campaign, key performance variables. But still, it kind of delivers in the first few weeks. But if you have to capture the full potential of the campaign, it should be run for at least 8 weeks to get the best of the ROI. But you should be also mindful that the longer the campaign would run, the more dry its number would get. So people would start to feel a lot of ad fatigue due to some other variables that you mentioned, Aruj, which would definitely increase if the campaign would be kept running on for a lot of weeks over the time. The other thing that is very important to make sure that the ROAS is maximum is to get the timing and the channel right. If we can get the channel right, and we are very sure that, okay, this channel is performing us with the best results, and we can figure out what timing works at that channel for us, it would definitely assist us in the online treatment and offline treatment both. This is another excerpt from a research paper which talks about different adjustments which were done online to maximize results. Timing mattered a lot in this case, and it kind of driven a lot of potential in the ROI. If you be targeting ads on the wrong timings, it might not be giving us the right results. So targeting on the right channels, it involves a lot of experimentation. There are many factors which we can continue monitoring, which will give us the signals like which channels are the best ones for us to engage into. We should be minding the overlaps. Let me maximize this slide. Channels, everybody is using these channels. Facebook user is also on YouTube. YouTube user is also on Instagram. An Instagram user is also on TikTok. So, we need to be mindful that there would be overlaps. There would be audience which would be available on multiple of these mix of channels. So, figuring out this correct channel and correct combination of advertising is very important for us to make sure that we are getting the best out of the spending that we're doing on the online channels. So another thing that is very important to consider in case of return on ad spend is it's very contextual. Um, if you would be targeting on something like mynews.com and trying to show them coffee ads, you might not get the relevant results. So, it needs to be very context aware. Your advertising needs to be on the right websites, on the right mediums and channels to make sure that it is overlapping with the context of the user and also with the context of the content that is presented on that website. If someone is only coming into a website to consume news, they may not be taking that buying decision based on your advertising. So, the ROAS advertising would matter when the context is figured out very well. So context, in terms of context, what we can talk about is there needs to be a user context, there needs to be a time context, and there needs to be an attribution settings on each campaign. User context would tell you which users are consuming which mediums and channels, and how can we best perform out of them. Time context would give us the best timing, and attribution would tell us which channel is giving us the best results across these mediums. And we need to think strategically when we are talking about ROAS, especially. We need to see that PPC takes a lot of money out of your pocket, and you cannot continue running business only on PPC ads. So you need to add into the mix a lot of other variables and a lot of other campaigns, which are more organic in nature and which are um, more you know structured in a way that it would spread itself. It would not require a marketing spend for you to push that content. So, we can tap into digital PR and content-based initiatives in the long run to gain a better long-term results over the SEO curve over time. So traffic is the main source of all these efforts, and thinking strategically would give you which position you are in. Your business is kind of starting off, then you might be wondering about PPC. And you can kind of maximize results by doing these additional efforts to strategically grow your traffic. And that would also maximize your ROAS. These additional efforts would maximize your ROAS as well. Return on ad spend is highly dependent on creative. And throughout the industry, creative remains the undisputed champ. It's the thing that drives the sales. It's the thing that makes the CTRs happen. It's the thing that makes the purchase, the promise versus the purchase happen. So the creative has to promise something. The creative has to trigger some emotion. The creative has to be exciting. The creative has to be engaging. The creative has to be resonating on the timing that the ad is targeted for. So, creative itself becomes a very deep topic to cover. And that's why a couple of other slides would talk about how can we test out this scientifically. How can we make sure that the ads that we are pushing get the best results possible. And so we will talk about these scientific ad testing methods in the coming slides. um, um, and to begin any scientific testing, you need some test metrics. You need something that you're trying to control. And these are a couple of metrics that you can control, which we can figure out and which we can easily have insight. These are testing metrics, means these tell you the symptoms. These don't give you the actual numbers and ROI figures, basically. So you need to figure out what you want to do. You want to increase conversions. Conversion per impression may be a good metric that you should be using. You want to increase visitors. In that case, click-through rate may be a better metric for you to measure, because the more visitors you are expecting, the more CTR the ad creative should have. Increase engaged visitors. So, we need to see what conversion per impression again is, and get the most revenue possible. In that case, we would be talking about revenue per impression. What is the ratio between the revenue versus the impressions that we got? And then we would talk about improve quality scores. If we were to improve quality scores, you begin looking at the click-through rate, how people were transitioning from one creative to your landing page. And I want to show some more important metrics, which are filter metrics. These tell you which initiatives to continue running and which initiatives to pause and reconsider. So there could be two things that a user wants to do or a business wants to do. They want to get the highest revenue above a specific return on ad spend number. In that case, revenue per impression might be the best filter metric for your business. And if you want to get most conversions under a certain target CPA, cost per action, then conversion per impression, the CPI would be the best filter metric for you for your business. I want to show a couple of ads, and before I do that, I want to take a look, on this graph, on this ROAS dashboard. Rouge, if you are with us, can you tell us what is wrong in this case of ROAS dashboard? What do you believe can be optimized further in this case of business? Their CPC cost is there, their add to carts value is there. What do you believe is the problematic area for the business?
Alright. So here you can see that the total amount spent is 6,73,000, and I can see that the add to cards are also fine, but here you can see that cost per add to cart is 200, and the impression is also fine, but frequency is 1.2, and it is for video ad creative, and the average watch time for video is also visible here. But the thing is, the cost per purchase is 973 rupees. That is too much, and it should be reduced because it is costing almost 1000 rupees to get one purchase. So I think that is the problem here.
Correctly pointed out, the cost per purchase is something that is, the impression share is very good. They're getting a lot of views, a lot of impressions, and even a lot of add to carts as well. But this business is not able to convert, and the cost per purchase is something that should be optimized. We need to see if the audience, the reach is actually translating into enough number of orders. So 5.2 million versus 1,000 purchasers, the ratios don't seem very healthy in this case. So, this is something we need to see if we are targeting the right channels. A lot of questions we will be asking. If we are targeting the right channels, if we're targeting on the right timing, and if you are targeting on the right creative. If the creative was good enough, the reach should have converted into more add to carts. It should have led to more purchases. So, creative again is playing a huge role over here. We have got a lot of reach, but not enough purchases. And I believe, creative is playing a huge role over here. So I want to show a couple of ad creatives, and I think so these GIFs are not working over here. So let me just remove the slides for now and try to share my screen uh, and demonstrate what do I mean by these. So you can see the creatives. The creatives by these three companies that I have shortlisted are all very engaging. They're trying to sell an emotion, and they're also rightly featuring the product in the use case. And this is, very click-through optimized. It would definitely engage the user to click through. So their traffic ratio would be better, and they would get more results, more traffic overall to their website. Now the website has to kind of also fulfill these promises. Like in case of Instacart, their promise, what is their promise? Delivered like that. So they're marketing that they can instantly deliver things. And also the State Farm is talking about a play game. The Vogue is talking about a couple of creatives that creative looks that you can acquire. So the promise is there in the creative. The landing pages have to fulfill those promises. So when user would go there, they would like to be immediately greeted with a similar experience, similar internet experience for them to make sure that they check out. Another my favorite is this cool ad from Starbucks, and it's also targeting on an emotion, and it's very rightly done. Sip sip go, and very interesting marketing by them. They have usually used very cool looping animations, and looping animations are highly recommended by any story-based channels to target. These looping animations engage the user very well and has a very good likelihood to click through the audience. I want to showcase a study. This case study uh, is is about one of the companies, basically one of the government initiatives we worked with, and this was for malnutrition awareness campaign. And I want to give you a walkthrough about what the process and our thought, you know, behind this campaign was, which led to a better ROAS and overall better performance of the campaign. So the campaign was about revolutionary kids. It was an awareness campaign. So our filtering metrics, I can say, was CTR mainly. So people should be clicking through, and they should be greeted with a landing page containing more information and more details for that audience to capture. And what we tried to do over here was to give voice to children. So the children are the most affected ones. We looked at the creative collaterals from UNICEF. They were talking a lot about uh, children malnourished, or poor hygiene conditions, something like that. The was a part of the visuals. But we wanted to give voice to children and change the whole communication from an adult to adult versus a child communicating about themselves. And most of these malnutrition awareness campaigns were featured toward infants. So, they don't have a voice. So giving voice to those infants was the main challenge of the campaign. And we came up with a couple of very interesting key messages in this campaign. I'm strong because of my mom. Something that an infant is saying in form of a small looping animation. I need iron to strengthen my future. Eggs can fulfill my protein needs, and a lot of targeting about breastfeeding, and those messages were a part of this campaign. The process that we took was to analyze the audience and what resonates well with them. So this campaign was mainly targeted toward a primary audience of urban living parents, um, and we believe that they are very much attached with their children, and the creative based on children creatives would perform better because it would have a lot of potential to click through. So these were a couple of creatives we came up with to target on this campaign. And we ran this campaign in 2020. 2020 it was affected during the COVID time, but overall the campaign potential was fully met because the creative was so strong that even without a lot of spending that we have done, we got way much more virality effect on top of the creative. So that's why I believe strongly that creative is the main thing that defines the return on ad spend, if you're getting the right results or not. And this is the defining factor. So if you're thinking about optimizing your return on ad spend, I would highly recommend you to have all these executional drivers in front of you. What was your total reach? Total reach would also tell you about the budget constraints. So if there is budget constraint, people are not a lot of people are not seeing your ad, it would definitely mean that you couldn't reach to the relevant audiences. Ad creative, again, very important for you to make sure that your ad quality is super super high, and it can beat on other creatives which are targeting the same platform. If you would be going out with a boring creative, it would definitely affect your ROAS. And distribution channels, again, a lot of testing is required to figure out the right distribution channel, and what position you are placing. So, most platforms recommend automatic placements, but in some cases, you may be wanting to go only for stories, or you maybe want to only go for in video ads where people get interrupted and they see a non-skippable video in front of them. So, we need to make sure that we are positioning in the right place within the platform, and standing out from the ad clutter. Ad clutter, again, we can stand out with some amazing visuals and some amazing engaging creatives. So this is pretty much the very first step we would be taking is to optimize the click-through rate. Click-through rate, we would try to then optimize the landing pages, the experience overall, and then try to figure out if any questions or anything that we can present out to the audiences to make their decision easier to make a purchase. And then obviously optimizing the checkout behavior. You can talk about, you can learn more about the whole ROAS based on the CRO. So we have done a separate webinar already on the conversion rate optimization, which will be mainly a part of things that you will be doing when the traffic has left the ad platform and went to your website. So you can check out a lot of things that we have talked about over there. But this webinar mainly talked about executional drivers and how can we optimize them. So a couple of tips that I would like to give is to run the campaign for at least 2 months, and figure out the best timing and channel for your campaign through a lot of experimentation. Run out these graphs for yourself if you would like, and then obviously be mindful of the overlaps that may be out there, and try to figure out the context. If the user is finding your creatives in the right context, they would definitely be more likely to purchase and make a transaction with you. So I'm open to questions if there are any from the audience.
All right. So I have one question.
Mhm.
Um, it is about intent. That what intent, how we can figure out that people coming to our particular ad and with what intent they are coming actually. So from the data, how we can see that with what intent people are coming to our ad.
So definitely there is zero moment of truth that a user is trying to kind of figure out a solution. They're looking for a painkiller, or they're looking for some solution to some of their problems. um, that is an awareness level campaign, I would say, where you are trying to position organically, but also you want to be there on some of the searches or some of the queries they may be placing on different platforms to figure out a solution. So to find out what intent they are in, they could be at the awareness stage or they could be in the navigational stage. They're trying to figure out what gaming chair to buy. So they may be looking at four different chairs. They're trying to navigate what this business does and how they perform. Or they could be in a transactional mode. They want to buy a certain item. So, they may be looking for a Razer gaming black chair with red linings. That is a very, very specific search, which tells the intent of the user to be more of a purchase related. They want to, buy out something. And in that case, A lot of businesses neglect that kind of targeting. They're targeting a lot of reach kind of campaigns or a lot of awareness level of campaigns. If we would be targeting a lot of navigational and transactional intents as well, then we would be definitely getting better results on the ROAS level.
All right. So that pretty much tells that how to figure out the intent of the people who are coming to your ad. All right. So I have another question. So if we have got time, I would like to ask it. Um,
Mhm.
how we can find ROAS target that will actually result in maximum profit. So how we can do that?
It's very subjective, and sorry, it's very specific to business. In some businesses, um, you know, our two ROAS would mean a lot to them. They're selling a high value item, and even two ROAS would be acceptable for them. But in some cases, business is selling cheap products. Their average order value is too low. Say their average order value is around $10 or $20. For them, the margins are already very thin. They have to ship a package. They have to kind of consider the advertising costs. In those cases, the 10 ROAS may also not do the justice. They may be looking at something around 15 ROAS or 20 ROAS in that case. But this would very much matter in terms of the P&L that the business is trying to gather, and what is the average in that industry that is out there. So this would pretty much vary from business to business and their profit and loss statement. What kind of ROAS should be acceptable to them? And recently, Facebook has enabled targeting campaigns based on a certain ROAS number. So you can fix the ROAS number that is acceptable to you. So say your business says I won't accept a campaign to be continue running if the ROAS is below 4. So you can set these settings within Facebook, and also on Google. The recent update has enabled these settings for advertisers to configure, and they can get the relevant results. I can take one more question, Ruj, and then we would part ways for this
Okay.
webinar at least, and we would be back with another session next week, hopefully. So
All
if you
right.
have
So
any questions.
yeah, I have one more question. So if we have got a purchase on our website, and let's say okay, we have run it from Google AdWords, but we are unable to track it down. That whether it's coming from Google AdWords or like from somewhere else, then how we can make sure that we are tracking the right lead, or like it's actually coming from that particular platform.
So the context I spoke about, it's very important to do the attribution, and attribution can be done through UTMs or through a couple of other things that we can do to attribute these users coming to our website. So to figure out if a user is coming from a certain platform or from a certain website, you need to include dynamic attribution or dynamic UTMs basically. So usually what the advertisers would do is they would put in a fixed UTM parameter in there. But in case there are more complicated and more extensive attributions that need to be done, there needs to be a dynamic UTM tagging, which can give you actual attribution settings, which would definitely tell you more data about ROAS and which context is performing for a business.
Right. So yeah, that explains pretty much it. So it's better that we have to set UTM for any
Mhm,
campaign,
mhm.
whether we are using Google AdWords, Facebook, or another platform. Yeah. So
Indeed.
That's all from my side. I have no further question. So
Thank you, Rose. Thank you for hosting me. And I hope we would be having more marketing experts during our upcoming webinars. So we have some exciting line of guests. So I delivered first few webinars on RF Studio, but I hope you would be hosting some very good guests in upcoming days. So I'm really excited. I hope audience enjoyed the webinar as well. And
yeah,
thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye bye.
have a wonderful.